What's up, everybody? It's too generic, but you got one generic white guy this time. Richie's out for the day. He had to do some mandatory OT for Amazon. You know how that is. You know, people want their mail. Next day delivery, you pay for Amazon Prime. It is what it is. It's a good deal. Sponsored by Amazon. Not really, but they sponsor Rich. So Richie's part of the show. Amazon sponsors Rich. Rich part of the show. The show sponsored by Amazon, right? That's what we're running with. So shout out to Amazon, Jeff Bezos, and some of the stock that we share. We partially own the company together. You know, I'm an owner of Amazon. I don't know how many shares Richie owns. Pretty sure Jeff Bezos owns a few. We're all doing good. We're living lavish. You feel me? But this week on Too Generic, we're going to discuss the UFC fight night that just happened last night. We're going to discuss WNBA playoffs, obviously. It's the pregame show. So we're going to talk about the two big games today that are the semifinals to the WNBA finals. And we'll see who ends up in the finals. We don't know if some teams are about to lose today, get eliminated, pack up, and go home, or they're going to push for a Game 5. It's Game 4 for each team, Lynx versus Sun. And it's also Game 4 for Aces versus Liberty. The Liberty are up 2-1, and the Lynx are up 2-1. So if we follow it the way we are right now, I would say most likely the Lynx are going to beat the Sun. This is what it is right now. The Sun grab Game 1, and now the Lynx take Game 2 and 3. But something with the Liberty series, you know, the Sun can come back. There's a possibility. There has been history before where teams have came back from down 2-1, but no team has ever came back from down 2-0. And that's what's going on with the Aces this year. The Aces started off the series down 0-2, and I believe teams are 18-0 if they go up 2-0. So it seems like the Aces are going to get eliminated because the Liberty are up 2-0. And what we think is going to happen, or what I think is going to happen, is most likely the Liberty will eliminate the Aces tonight. And I think actually the Sun series goes 5. I think that's actually a really fun series. I think also it would be good for the WNBA to just axe the Liberty series, Liberty Aces, and then go 5 with this. People get exposure to the teams that aren't really the most popular. And then once whatever team goes and wins Game 5, goes on to the WNBA finals and faces the Liberty that everyone knows and loves. Same with Aces. Everyone knows and loves the Aces. Two of the best teams in the W probably over the past 3 years. So we're only getting one of them in the finals this year. You know, it's not like, oh, will they meet up? Will they meet up? We know for a fact they won't. So that means someone else new is being introduced into this, you know, cabal. Because right now it's really them two. It's the Aces and the Liberty. The W tried to build some super teams this year, but they just weren't able to crack into what the Aces and the Liberty do. They just really are the best. They also have the chemistry and the familiarity with each other that, yeah, they might add a player or two or lose a player or two in the offseason, but for the most part, it's still the same core unit, you know? You want the same core set of people, and they have that. The Storm, you know, brought in a bunch of new players this year. As natural as NECA looked, she didn't grow up playing for the Storm. She's from the Sparks. She's new. Skylar Diggins, as great as she looked and how she set the tone, and she almost made it her team because Joelle Lloyd went on slumps and everything else. But that's a new squad. Gabby Williams came halfway through the year and then took people's starting spots. Vivi was trying. You know, she's not a superstar, but she was knocking the midi down. Any set shot, she was knocking it down. She was crashing glass. She was trying, setting screens, doing what a glue player does. So, you know, it was hard for everybody to find their footing, I believe. Ezzy had a good year, but not great, if that makes sense. If you know Ezzy, she's been trending up and making a lot of big strides. I think this is the year she kind of plateaued a little bit. Hear me out. She had a great season. She's still blocking shots. She knocks down the occasional three. I think she should be shooting more threes. The threat of NECA Nwumike within 10 feet Ezzy, get the fuck out of here. All love and respect. You shoot a better three than Nneka. I'll let Ezzy knock the three down. Space out. Let Nneka own the paint. Let her operate. Give her some more space down there. And just let it fly. I want Ezzy to let it fly more. I don't think she took enough threes this season, truly. They needed a lot more threes from her. Joelle Lloyd wasn't shooting well from three. You had Vivians, who doesn't really create her own threes. Gabby Williams came in, and honestly, she airballed a couple threes, and that's what Gabby Williams has always done. She's not the most accurate. She either makes it or misses it bad, and she's still kind of like that, but she's gotten better. Sorry, there's only one person here today, and I make my coffee. Usually I take some sips in between me and Richie, but he's not here today. But I still got to drink my coffee. It's just part of my rhythm. So just be a part of this, If I stop to take a drink, just stop and take a breath. That's all. So first, we're going to go to the UFC. We'll talk UFC real quick. I filled this thing up to the top. I don't want to spill it. It's dumb hot. It's hot coffee. Last thing I want is to spill it on me. And I have to sit here. I have to rip my shirt off, and I'm here naked because I'm not naked. I got shorts on, and let me just move on. Yeah, y'all don't need the explanation. All right, so we're gonna start off early prelim card. Ryan Spann, OSP. I mean, I knew the result. OSP. I thought OSP was washed 6 years ago. Let's be real. I mean, it's just what it is. So within the first minute, he gets tapped. It's kind of obvious. That's just how I've seen it. If you've watched OSP the past 10 years, you see a drastic fall off. And that's not his fault. He's 41. Dude's been fighting for 20 plus years. You're just not going to be all there anymore. You probably blew all your best shots. And now you're just kind of, you're still in shape. You're still whatever, but you're not your best self. He's dealt with a ton of injuries, coming back from things, getting knocked out, getting tapped, broken, bruised, battered, all of the alliterations with B. But he's still trying, so we respect it and everything. But Ryan Spann is a very hard matchup for him. If it was someone maybe like a Chris Daukaus or something like that, like somebody who has been on a really bad skid, and then I could see him fighting OSP, and maybe OSP could pull one out on somebody who's also kind of down and out and might take some chances where they're not, as disciplined and could make a mistake, and OSP being an OG veteran could capitalize on that. We've seen OSP, he has that Von Flu choke where he gets you on the floor, and he's got some different stuff. So you do have to approach OSP with respect. And you also got to approach him with caution because he's got some moves. He's not a knockout artist, you might look at OSP and think this dude's an athlete, but he's technical. And now he's older. So I'm pretty sure what he works on the regular is most likely just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm pretty sure he's not sparring in the gym like a warrior every day. And, he's technically sound. But Ryan Spann taps him out in a minute and a half. And that's just what it is. I think he was overwhelmed. And that's what I'm saying is, as good as this guy is, Ryan Spann is technically just coming off of his prime, but he's still there. He still has all of it. So it was a good pick for me. I thought Ryan Spann would have the easy victory. And that's what happened in the early prelims. Another one, Esparza. I will say I was wrong on Esparza. I was surprised. Pennington won somehow, and she landed some great shots. Her volume was good, but if anything, I felt like Esparza was getting the takedowns at will, and in my opinion, probably should have won. I really respect the takedown. I really respect ground time, control time, and everything else. I was wrong on this one. Clearly, the judges seen differently. But even if you look back at the stats, Esparza landed 22 more total strikes, 116,
to 94. So she led in volume. She also threw 215 total strikes, and Pennington only threw 166. Obviously, you could throw 215 to 166 and get knocked out on 167 on the next punch. Doesn't mean you won the fight, but the fight went to the end. Nobody got slept. She also was 4 for 7 on takedowns, to where Tisha Pennington didn't even go for a takedown. I feel like Carla Esparza showed more volume on the feet, also got all the takedowns. So she showed more of being a mixed martial artist, which MMA is. She mixed martial arts, and I think she had a better performance overall. So I would have said Esparza, even though I think she's one of the most boring fighters when it comes down to like big championship fights, and she just wrestles the whole time, and it's kind of annoying. So good win for Tisha Pennington. Who knew it was going to be the other Pennington that won? I thought both Penningtons were going to lose this week. Richie had it. I think he took Raquel Pennington to beat Pena because he doesn't like Pena. But I thought Pena was going to win. You know, I just think she's down to go on another little run and then probably get set up, I don't know, against somebody. Maybe it's Kayla Harrison, you know? She's the GOAT stopper. She beat Nunez. So let's see what she does against Harrison. And I think last night was the perfect lead up into that. Kayla Harrison defeats Vieira. Pena defeats Pennington. And then they face off against each other. They shared a card, and now they'll share the ring. You know? All right, the coffee's not as hot anymore. I'm not as worried. Anyway. All right, never mind. I thought the screen wasn't loading for a second. Just froze. The next fight, Buckley. The Buckley TKO. I think it's a knockout. I don't know exactly how it's gonna. Yeah, they call it a KO/TKO. Like, I wouldn't call it like a knockout because he didn't go to sleep. That's the way I see it. I don't believe that he went to sleep. I just think he got punched and kind of keeled over, if that makes sense. So I think it more broke him than slept him. So I think that one's a TKO. It's listed as both. But something during this fight, and then I'll also allude to it in a further fight down the card. We've seen something that I was talking about last week about McGregor and about some other guys who, when they get taken down, if you aren't somebody who has a really strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game or a takedown game or takedown defense, the one thing you can learn, my cat's yelling at me, because he agrees. He knows what's up. If you grab a single leg with two hands, you are a defenseless fighter. And seen it happen multiple times in the Wonder Boy Buckley fight. Buckley would grab a single leg with two hands. Wonder Boy starts dropping elbows on him, forces him to change position. That's the part that I didn't understand about what was the fight last week? Not Arnold, Brendan Allen. I was gonna say Arnold Allen. Brendan Allen last week, he was grabbing single legs, but he wasn't getting smashed. And I'm like, is there cooperation here? Like, what's happening? Why isn't this guy getting abused for a poor position? And we've seen that happen this time with Buckley. Buckley got abused in a poor position at multiple times, but did other things to end up winning the fight overall. But that's what I was talking about. Punishing single legs. It happens all the time. We've seen Almeida get slept like that from Razor Blades, from Curtis Blades. You go for a single leg. All you do is drop elbows on the man. He's got two hands on one leg, and you're in a fist fight. How can he defend himself? No, there's no hands guarding his face. There's no hands guarding his body. He is just single leg on you. And if you got one leg on the ground and you're back against the fence, you are fully balanced enough to throw a powerful strike. you could drop that down. You could drop hammer fists. You could drop elbows down once they grab the single leg. This also happened, I wrote this down, against Batista. I'll talk about it later. Jose Aldo versus Mario Batista, same thing happened. Batista went for a single leg multiple times. Aldo starts dropping elbows, starts doing the most. And this is what you have to do. It's very important to drop those elbows, knees, hammer fists, everything you can once you're single legged, because it doesn't make sense. So, a guy's got two hands on your leg. You have both hands and one leg. There's a lot of weapons there. And that guy used all of his ability to just wrap his arms around your leg. There's not many moves other than to drive through you to try to bring you down. And if he can't drive through you and you have your back to the fence and he's got one leg and you got one leg on the ground, you got two hands to do some work. Punch him in the back, punch him in the kidneys and the spleen on either side. Drop elbows on his head. Hit knee. You got your other knee. Connect with the knee. Do whatever you need to do. And we've seen fighters that do this and then force a new position. It's the fighters who get stuck in this single leg and kind of confused. They don't know how to get out of it. They're like, yo, he's on my leg. And they just try to pull. They try to pull off and get free. You force yourself to get free. You drop the elbow on him. You make him make the decision, so he loses the position, and you win the points for that round. We've seen some good punishing of single legs. This is something I've been talking about for months, if not years. Whenever you see that, the UFC fighters that do typically win the fight. Ironically enough, both lost, but won that position by using that defense. And this is, like I said, what I've been saying with Brendan Allen. Probably could have won last week, but he was the one getting caught doing single legs and getting abused with the elbow. I guess it's not 100% theory yet, but these guys are at least, exploring using it. And I think that's good. Next was the Kayla Harrison decision. She reminds me a lot of Brock Lesnar. She just comes in just absolutely a unit, bigger than anybody else in the UFC in her weight class, or maybe even just bigger than anybody else in the UFC with her gender. Because Brock Lesnar came in, was the biggest man in the UFC. Kayla Harrison comes in. She's the biggest woman in the UFC. She really, if I was built like Kayla Harrison, bro, I'd feel really good about myself. She's fucking massive. And then you look at her weight and you're like, you're 135. She looks like she could throw me like 20 feet. When somebody says, I trust him as far as I could throw him, like Kayla Harrison, that's probably a compliment because she could probably throw you pretty far. So she probably could, that's the whole joke. I trust him as far as I could throw him. You can't throw him. You get what I'm saying. That was a great fight. As I was saying, I think it's going to lead up into potentially a Pena fight because they are in the same weight class. Pena just got a big win on the same card. I think the story's there to be told. She already beat one of the legends, as I said earlier. I really like the situation. Dolidze, Dr. Stoppage. I didn't think Holland was going to win this. He caught him a few times, had some really heavy hands, as we know Holland does. But the problem always is when he gets taken down. He got taken down. He tried to wrestle. He tried to move and sprawl and get out of there. But the way he contorted his body and twisted to get out of the grapple, he popped his rib. I'm like, Kevin Holland can't take a break, can't catch a break, man. He was getting abused his whole career on wrestling and getting taken down and not really having great takedown defense or the ability to pop back up. Now he finally learns how to do it. And then he pops a rib while doing it and gets injured while trying to break out of the takedown. So feel bad for Kevin Holland. I think it was a really good fight overall for that first round. He didn't want to quit. The coach was begging him to quit, and the coach called it. The coach threw in the towel. It is what it is. Dolidze gave him some respect after. They hugged, they dapped up, whatever. Overall, Congrats to him. Nobody wants to see a doctor stoppage, especially when it's like a rib broken and it's not from a kick or a punch or anything like that. It was from twisting wrong out of a grapple, and he pops his rib, and then he gets mounted for 30 seconds, and then he's like, you could see him, like, his face in pain. He's kind of screaming out. He's even almost telling Dolidze, like, just stop, bro. I'm hurt. Like, it's an injury. Get off me. And so for the last 30 seconds, Dolidze is just, breaking down, boom, dropping bows, dropping hits from the full mount position, full mount. He's on top. It was bad. And you could see Kevin Holland, whatever his defense was in trying to move and everything and stay alive, honestly, I don't even think he was a UFC fighter in that moment. In the darkest of ways, I think he was like fighting for his life. Like he looked concerned. Like it wasn't competition anymore. When that rib popped and Dolidze like thought he got like a competitive advantage over it, I think that's when Holland was like, dude, like I just broke a rib. Like this isn't cool no more. And he kept pushing it. And it is what it is. I think Dolidze did what he honestly probably should do. But I think if Dolidze got up, Holland would have stayed down. The ref would have called it off immediately. I don't think it would have been necessarily shown weakness in Dolidze because this guy was clearly hurt. Like he was saying it. Like you see it, he's talking. He was yelling as he's getting he's like, I'm hurt. Like he said it multiple times. And it was kind of hard to watch knowing this dude hurt his rib and he was grabbing for it real quick. And then he turned and then he just covers up. He literally tried to give up and Dolidze didn't have, I guess, a finishing move to really make it conclusive for the ref to call it. And that could be an indictment on Dolidze that he couldn't finish an opponent who was done. So who knows? Moving on, the Batista fight. When he came out, I didn't think Batista was going to win until, you seen Batista get in the ring, and I'm like, yo, his back is looking huge. I'm like, he looked like he actually held the weight. You could see fight to fight, week to week. Some of these people have terrible weight cuts. Some of them have great weight cuts. Like, he looked hydrated. He looked full. He didn't look like he drained himself to the last second prior to weigh-ins and then tried to refuel, and he still kind of looks drained. He looked like somebody who probably managed his weight the entire fight camp, didn't really have to cut on a serious note. So then when he gets to the scale, he gets to fill up nice, and he's hydrated, and he doesn't really empty his tank the way a lot of people do to try to cut for weight. Jose Aldo's fighting lighter than ever. He was a 145 champ. Now he's fighting 135. Typically when you get older, you go up in weight. But Aldo's going down as he gets older. And I figure if you go down as you get older, I would typically say you're probably just going to lose. And he did lose. But he showed a lot of heart and he showed a lot of takedown defense still. I seen a statistic that Jose Aldo is 28-0 stopping takedown defenses in the last 3 fights. So since his move to 135, 0 for 28 opponents have trying to take him down. That's pretty elite. 0 for 28, you're trying to take this guy down, you can't. Nobody can take this guy down. He's losing fights, but he's also winning positions. So that means he could potentially still win fights. I like what Jose Aldo's doing. I don't want to write him off just yet, but he is older. He's got all the respect of the locker room. So good luck to him in his next fight because he's still showing a lot of heart. And I know most of the roster doesn't want to get in the ring with him unless it's a big payday. And then they don't care, of course, because they're prize fighters. They fight for prizes. How about this one? Pena winning over the decision. Big-time sleeper match. Wasn't too into it. Was kind of fighting sleep on this one. I feel like these co-main events have been really whack lately. Yeah, kind of a bit of a sleeper. Pena obviously wins it. She has the takedown. She's about ties in striking for the most part. Let me go look at the actual stats. Main card. Yeah, she was 2 for 3 on the takedowns. As I said, she won the takedown game. But with the striking, it was Pennington throwing a little bit more. 345 total strikes to 300 strikes. Regardless, they each threw 300 punches at each other, which is fucking nuts. And they tied with significant strikes, 92 each. So Pena was a little bit more accurate, didn't throw as much, but she had all the takedowns. She also had a submission attempt. So yeah, Pena winning that. And that's kind of the same reason why I thought Carla Esparza won, because she had the takedown attempts and she won in the volume striking. If you do the math on the Pena fight and the Esparza fight, they basically did the same type of stuff. I don't know why one was rewarded and one was punished. You know, we do want a little bit of consistency here. But let's move on to the final fight, the Roundtree versus Alex Pereira fight. No takedowns. It was all stand-up. And, you know, Khalil Roundtree was throwing some heavy bombs. And he connected a couple times that you could tell where he stood up Pereira. He looked a little different. His posture changed. But for the most part, I didn't really see Khalil Roundtree winning the fight. He had one way, a lucky punch. He didn't really have the distance down. I didn't like his distance that much. You know, he did some leg kicks that were decent. But for the most part, I was just waiting for Pereira to just drop the nuclear bomb on him. And another thing, Roundtree came in with a cut on his nose. And then by the end of the fight, he had 3 different cuts on his eye, and his nose was busted up. He was bleeding from 5 different spots on his face, like gushing blood too. So it just wasn't something that Khalil Roundtree was going to win. Like, this was not a fight he was going to win. It's a bad setup. It is. Who's going to beat Pereira? It's not like there's many people in the world. If Khalil Roundtree can't beat Pereira, I would say Pereira's probably a top 50 fist fighter in the world. And he can't handle this guy. So I don't think anybody would. It's not necessarily fair to go fight Alex Pereira. There's not many people who could beat him. So, you know, kudos to Khalil Roundtree for going in there, fighting 4 rounds. That's longer than Sean Strickland lasted in there, you know? Different weight class, but still. There's not many people who could go 4 rounds with Alex Pereira. He broke into a championship round against him, but that's when he lost the first championship round. And if that's not proof that you have to beat the champion to be the champion, then I don't know what is. And that's just something always that I say. You know, once these belt fights come, you could look good in the first 3 rounds, but how do you look in 4 and 5? And that's what it came down to in the Dominic Reyes versus John Jones fight. Reyes looked great in the first 3 rounds, but what happens to 4 and 5? Did John Jones calculate that, knowing he's a champion, knowing Reyes might not actually be the hardest opponent he'll ever fight in his career or has fought in his career? You know, did he kind of not press the gas for too long, but ended up in a fight harder than he, you know, thought it was going to be? And that's what I think John Jones entered with Dominic Reyes. I think Reyes went in there possessed, and Jones kind of was probably like 70% of himself, not really feeling the situation, probably not juiced up for it. What's the reason? He already wiped the whole division clean. He wiped them again. He's just hitting laps. He was the youngest champion. Now he became the oldest champion, you know? Like, that's John Jones's career. He was the youngest to the oldest champ. So he's been the man forever. And I think he just approached that Reyes fight, you know, with a little bit less gusto. And 4 and 5 came around, and he whooped Reyes' ass and won the fight. Because to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. And that's what proved it. Roundtree was in there for the first 3 rounds, but Pereira knows what 4 and 5 are. So he knows 1 through 3 isn't the entire fight when you're a champion. When you're fighting for belts and big money, you have 25 minutes to get it done. You don't need to get it done in 15. So Khalil Roundtree was still stuck on this 15-minute mindset, while Pereira knows, I got 25 minutes, bro. do whatever you want in the first 3 because you don't know what it is to be in 4 and 5 yet. And so that's what it was. Took him to the depths, deep waters, and he couldn't last in deep waters. He couldn't hang out there. And that's what Pereira found out. Got him against the fence, pieced him up, got him out of there, slept him. So that was a huge win for Pereira. Moves to 12-2. Roundtree goes to 14-6. So Roundtree also, I mean, if you look at his record, it's almost what? He loses a third of his fights, which is still good, you know, but that's not contender status anymore. I don't know if he'll ever make it back to a championship fight. He's probably going to have to go on a little bit of a win streak. Once you start, you know, his record starts looking like 15-8. I just don't see a championship path, you know? And I think that's what could happen with Khalil Roundtree. But you have a guy with almost a flawless record like Pereira. His only loss is to who? Izzy. People are going to call you a bum because you lost to Izzy? No. It's a respectable loss. If anybody is lost, the guy was the champion and what, won 8 fights straight as champ, as the target, as the hunted. He was still 8-0 for a little while. Then obviously he lost his belt. But I believe he went on an 8-fight win streak, 7 or 8-fight win streak as champion. This cat meowing, man. I don't know what's wrong with him. He really started meowing a few months ago. Sorry, guys. But that was, you know, UFC 307. I think I called it a fight night in the beginning of the pod, by the way. Let me just fix that error. Fight night is next week. And the week after that, until 308. But next week is going to be some interesting fights. You know, you got Daniel Rodriguez versus Alex Morono. That's going to be a fun fight. I'd probably take Daniel Rodriguez this fight. But that's just me. I know Morono's a dog. And typically, I don't bet against my guys. I really like Alex Morono. I like Diego Lopez. I like Ignacio Bahamondes. They go in there and brawl. I love it. I love what they do. So yeah, it's hard to root against Alex Morono, but I do think Daniel Rodriguez is just a bigger guy, and he's naturally like a 185er. So for him to drop down to 170, and this isn't like a short notice fight, he could prepare and properly drop down to 170. I think it's a wrap for Alex Morono. That's just my opinion. Another good fight is going to be the Grant Dawson versus Rafa Garcia. I think this is a good fight for Grant Dawson to get back on the win column. And I think when I think of Grant Dawson, I just still think of him getting caught. He went from this big win streak, putting together this resume, and then got caught by Bobby Green. I think he bounces back. I really think he does. I think he gets back to being in that category of, could this guy one day fight for a title? Could he even just fight to be a contender? And I think he's got that in him. We'll see next week. The Brad Tavares fight should be a little interesting. And then it's Royval versus Taira. If you guys don't know about Taira, Tatsuro Taira is from Japan, 16-0. The guy whoops ass. And I don't think there's anything on the early prelim other than one fight. You guys might not care about it, but for the ones that do know, UFC legend Chris Barnett. He's a heavyweight. He's a pretty short guy. Definitely a heavyweight. He's got some meat on him. But he throws head kicks. He does crazy shit. And we'll have to see what he does against Junior Tafa. Junior Tafa, he's came into the UFC. He's kind of got a small resume for a UFC fighter. Typically, you see guys with like over 5 fights fighting in the UFC. Right now, finally has 8 professional fights. But I think he's been in the UFC since he's like three fights in. Some of these guys get fast-tracked. I don't know how. Maybe they just whoop ass on the local scene real quick, get 2 quick fights, fight for a belt. Now they're 3-0, but nobody wants to challenge them or take the prize money to fight them. Because on these lower-ranked fights, bro, these are average Joes fighting, and they're probably getting $800, $1,500 purses. Would you want to fight Junior Tafa for $1,000? And you got to go to work the next day, and you got to go fill an Amazon truck the next day. But then you just literally you fought a Mack truck like Junior Tafa. I don't know. Oh, Nico Price is fighting here? I didn't know Nico Price was fighting either. Yeah. Next week's going to be all right. What I wanted to get to was actually something pretty cool. So I went to Iowa Western Community College. It's a Division I junior college. I ran track there, did sprints, the 100 for the most part. But I lived in the same building. All the athletes lived in the same building. So we had wrestlers, baseball players, track, and football. The basketball players lived in the suites. They got to live the good life. But I lived in the bricks. And the guy who lived right next to me was Andrew Van Ginkel. We used to brush our teeth in the mornings together and then go to class. We had coaching. We had a coaching class together. Our professor was Coach Mike Woolbecker. Coach Woolbecker, we'd call him. And, yeah, he taught us coaching, and we did coaching 1 and 2 together. We learned a lot of great things, me and Andrew Van Ginkel. Then he went to go play for the Dolphins, and he actually played there with a childhood, I'd say, rival of mine. I wouldn't say Christian Wilkins was a friend of mine. I didn't know him on a personal level. But growing up, I was always crossing paths with Christian Wilkins, who also plays for the Miami Dolphins. Now they don't anymore. They were teammates over there. So I just thought it was funny, somebody from my childhood. I used to go up against Christian Wilkins in football. He played for the 5A Raiders. I played for the CYO Panthers. So me and him were going, head to head. I probably got tackled by Christian Wilkins for years. Years, when I tell you that. Because I played running back and like slot receiver some years. Some years I played tight end. And he was always on the D-line and O-line, of course, because when you're that big and strong when you're little, they make you play both ways. And also, I played linebacker, safety, running back, slot. So whenever I was coming in contact with a lineman, it was tough. You know what I'm saying? We're 2 different types, 2 different body types, different positions, skill sets, all that. But went against Christian Wilkins my whole life growing up. And then he ends up playing on the same D-line. That's also it. I'm not just saying like, oh, these guys are on the same squad and one's a kicker, one's a QB, so they don't have anything in common. They don't work together. But no, this is Christian Wilkins is the defensive tackle and Van Ginkel is the D end. And sometimes they're on the same side. So it's kind of cool, Like they work right next to each other. And I know both of them, their backgrounds, how they grew up, different things like that. And then when I go to college, I sit next to Van Ginkel. I live next to Van Ginkel. Me and him, we play Madden in the same dorm rooms. You know what I'm saying? And 8 people are in there. We all bring our chairs from each of our dorm rooms. Everyone's all sitting. People sitting on a beanbag chair. People laying on each other's beds. Everyone's just in one room playing Madden. 12 people screaming. Ah! The good old college days. So if y'all went to college or ever visited friends in college and stuff and know how that is, it's pretty cool. And it's just cool to see this guy this week. And this is where I'm kind of alluding to. Maybe I'll give another little story here or there throughout. But here it is. Here is Van Ginkel right here. Andrew Van Ginkel quietly has been one of the best free agent signings of the offseason. This is his second pick 6 of the year. So what's even funnier about this, let me just say this part real quick. Andrew Van Ginkel has quietly, I want to tell you right now, Andrew Van Ginkel is one of the most quiet people you will ever meet in your life. He barely says anything. True, like, country boy, doesn't really talk too much, but he plays rough. And that's who Andrew Van Ginkel really is. Sweet dude, heart of gold. He really is very nice guy. But when you get him on the field and you put pads on him, there just aren't people who can match his level of intensity. And I remember he had a teammate and a good friend of mine, a better friend of mine, specifically at Iowa Western. And even after, we keep in contact on Facebook, like each other's posts and everything. A defensive end who ended up losing his spot to Andrew Van Ginkel. He came from Georgia, and his name is Abraham Freeman. And if you pay attention to college football maybe 10 years ago, Abe Freeman was no joke. This dude was a defensive end at Georgia. He also played running back. And when you talk about a guy who's fast, Abe Freeman got speed, he got strength, he got it all. And he would say it, ain't nobody like Van Ginkel. Nobody. And he wasn't somebody who liked to give compliments. It was all about himself. He was like an Anthony Edwards type of personality. If you ever met Abe Freeman, you know what I'm talking about. And for him to say, Van Ginkel, the coldest white boy ever, the strongest on the line, he don't even like doing drills against him in practice because he's not used to that. You know, that's just the way he would tell me. And so it's just kind of funny to see Van Ginkel doing his thing in the league, and I'm very proud of him, for real. Like, literally was my neighbor where I lived. We eat together, play Madden, all that shit. Like I said, we weren't like this. He was more a friend of a friend. I was in my friend's room. I was in Abe Freeman's room playing Madden with him, and he would have his D-line buddies in there, and that's why I came in contact, and our paths crossed, and then we have coaching together, and we had some great times, honestly, in coaching. But I think the best quote from our coaching professor was, "You are coaching Susie and Joes, not X's and O's." You know, that's really where it starts, I think. You know, you got to know your players first. And you could run a playbook for anybody. But, I mean, imagine if you handed an NFL playbook to a sixth grader. You think that's going to do something to them? You think they're going to actually grow and develop from that? Or they're going to kind of be over-taught and not understand the concepts and not, you know, execute the plays properly because they haven't been fully taught yet. So it's very important to always coach the Susies and Joes before the X's and O's. And that's something from me and Van Ginkel's coaching class from Mike Wolbecker. So shout out to our professor. I hope he's doing well. And yeah, let's look at the play.
Quick throw. Intercepted. Van Ginkel
hits the stiff arm, runs it down the sideline, breakaway speed, keeps his feet in bounds.
Touchdown. Another
Andrew Van Ginkel, man.
For Andrew Van Ginkel.
He didn't want to ground spike it. You seen him? He like fake ground spiked it twice.
And the Vikings take a 2-score lead.
He's such a quiet dude. He wanted to let loose.
Quick throw. Intercepted. Van Ginkel. Down the sideline. Touchdown.
Second pick six of the year. I hope he gets paid. I hope he gets he's got incentive bonuses, all of that. So I want to see Van Ginkel eat. Also, I seen another funny tweet today about Van Ginkel, and it's about Minnesota athletes, right? So they said Rudy Gobert, Minnesota Timberwolves, wins Defensive Player of the Year. Nafisa Collier wins Defensive Player of the Year for the Minnesota Lynx. So men's and women's basketball both have Defensive Player of the Year in Minnesota, and they jokingly say Andrew Van Ginkel, DPOY, for the NFL, for the Minnesota Vikings. I'm all for it. Get my boy paid. So that's the Andrew Van Ginkel story. Oh yeah, and they would say he got the loudest pads. That's something Abraham Freeman also would say. He would say Van Ginkel was the quietest person, but got the loudest pads. That is an actual quote. And I'll remember that forever. Because also, that tweet says he has quietly been the best offseason move. And that's what I've been saying. Soft-spoken dude, doesn't really say too much. You know, he's not going to beat his chest. I'm the best. That's not his personality at all. But throw some pads on him, and everyone around him will say he's the best. He doesn't have to speak for himself. His actions, his work speaks for himself, and then everyone around him then knows this is the guy. We don't argue with him. We don't fight with him. It's Van Ginkel. So I just want to give you your proper shout outs, because I don't think he was given the ESPN treatment. And as they're saying, it was a quiet move in the offseason. But if anyone paid attention to what him and Christian Wilkins, I mean, now Christian Wilkins is on the Raiders, top tier athlete. But if anyone paid attention to what those young boys were doing down there in Miami, they would know these guys are going to develop into 10-plus year veterans in the NFL because of what they do. So shout out to them. Shout out to the two bros, Christian Wilkins and Andrew Van Ginkel. Now, we go into the WNBA playoffs. We're going deep into the NBA playoffs. So I do think, I already said it a little bit earlier. I did a quick little summary, and then I wanted to jump into the full thing. But I think Aces lose tonight. That's how I feel. And I think that's how it's going to go. I think the Liberty are too good. I think Leone Fibic was the move in the offseason to set them apart from everybody else. There's no better person, no better addition than Leone Fibic. I love what she does. Though I think Mabry might actually be the 100% best addition of any team. But to complete what the Liberty needed, they just needed somebody a little bit better than Kayla Thornton, a little bit better than Kennedy Burke, a little bit better than Nayara Sabali. And that's who they got. They're not worried about, Maureen Johannes getting hot, and now they got to bench their guards. They could play Fibic with the best lineups. That's the part with Fibic. She could guard 2 through 4. I would say 2 through 4 easily she could guard. She's great for that. She just won MVP of the EuroLeague, has never played in the WNBA before. Now she's a rookie coming off an MVP season, and she's playing a role, and she's not forcing it. If she's open, she's hitting the shot. If she's not, she's making the right play. And I really like Leone Fibic for that. So I'd say her addition has been huge. Obviously, Kennedy Burke was an addition, but we're just talking about what the Liberty really needed. And what they needed was spacing, playmaking, defense. They got a little bit of it all. Like, Fibic feels like a baby Stewie. Like, that's kind of who she is, but with, less of a green light to shoot right now. Not because she can't shoot, but just because of the role on the team that she does play. So, this is more of Stewie's team than anybody's. Fibic can't come in here and try to run the squad. But first game of the playoffs, she was the leading scorer. She's got that in her. So I think that's the differentiating factor, because with the Aces, they still have the same 3 guards, They didn't really add anything from the wing spot. Chelsea Gray, if anything, she's looked good as of late, but she's still coming back. And she's a little bit older. She had a big injury. She's coming back from it. She started off in a bad slump. Jackie Young, since Chelsea Gray's came back, Jackie Young has been in a slump since Chelsea Gray came back. So you not only have an injured player trying to fit in and catch up to speed, you now have Jackie Young, who has kind of been thrown off her balance. She really had a good rhythm in the beginning of the year without Chelsea Gray, and just having a role player like Kate Martin there. But now the ball is out of her hands more than ever, and Jackie Young's trying to operate off ball more. And I think she's just not in his rhythm as she was. So now you got a player kind of in a slump. You got a player trying to come back. You got Plum, who's locked the fuck in. She's hitting crazy shit. The double moves, the up and unders, the in and out crossovers. She's mixing everybody. Plum's locked in. Asia's locked in. Stokes, She's not having the best run right now. That's just my opinion. But I don't think Stokes is doing anything other than being a good defender. Not even a great defender, just a good defender. So you got that. But the aces, you got Sloot coming off the bench now, and she's fine with it. You got Sabrina doing her thing, playing well, outplaying Asia. At least one of the games she's outplayed Asia. Jonquel Jones is passing and hitting threes. She's really locked in again. She's not as strong as Asia, even though she's kind of got a little bit more mass. But Asia's just a solid muscle. She's like Giannis versus Embiid. I think that's a good comparison. Asia Wilson is kind of like Giannis, and then Joel Embiid is like Jonquel Jones. So, like Embiid's big. He's bigger. He's a little heavier. But Giannis, solid muscle. Like, just the whole body is like one muscle. He's just jacked out of his mind. So, and that's Asia. Asia's solid muscle. And we've seen it. Jonquel tried to drive and go through her chest. She bounced off and missed the shot. Like, it was a mess. And Asia stood there strong. So that's just what it is. She made Jonquel travel, trying to get, Jonquel tried to body up on the drive, traveled. What else we got? Obviously, Stewie. Sabali's done her thing. I think there's room for improvement there. They could probably sign someone else in the free agency, or maybe she takes another step in the offseason. What I think is going to happen is the Sun win today, and then I don't know about Game 5. I'll have to see Game 4 before I say Game 5. So we'll see. But I want my Sun to win. I really do. I want to at least go Game 5. I don't want to lose to the Lynx. I know they won the Commissioner's Cup, and they're a great squad. What I don't want to see is Nafisa Collier get a title. I want to see Alyssa Thomas get a title. DeWanna Bonner get a title. Brianna Jones. Ty Harris, who I think could have won Most Improved Player of the Year. Dejanay, who did win Most Improved Player of the Year. Like, these are people that are taking strides. And Alyssa Thomas always getting overlooked for Defensive Player of the Year, always getting overlooked for MVP and everything else. So I want to see my girls win. So we're going Connecticut Sun. We're winning tonight. But the Lynx are a math problem. All they do is shoot threes. Bridget Carlton shoots threes. Kayla Harrison. Oh, my God. Kayla McBride knocks down the three. Alana Smith knocks down the three. You name it. They have shooters everywhere. I'd say Courtney Williams isn't necessarily the best three-point shooter, but she's got the midi, and she's got it on lock. If you've seen Courtney Williams this year, it's a long two as well. It's not no short midi from the free throw line. These are long twos, and she's got that. Chelsea Gray's been locked in with the midi, though she's not on this team. But it's her and Chelsea Gray. When I think about the mid-range in the W, it's them. The pull-up mid-range, nobody's got it like Courtney Williams or Chelsea Gray. But Chelsea Gray's got it patented. That's hers. Nobody could do it like Chelsea Gray. She'd be putting the shot up and just, like, snapping her hands down. I don't know how she does her jumper, but that shit, when it goes, she'd be like this, whipping it. You just see her hands go like that. I don't know how she shoots with that form, but I love it. When I see them hands go, like, money. And it really just hits the bottom of the net every time. Love me some Chelsea Gray. Loved her when she was on the Sparks. When the Aces got her, I'm like, oh, yeah. This is building another dynasty right here. What else do we got? Honestly, I don't have too much other stuff. I mean, we could deep dive into the WNBA a little bit more. But I'm not seeing too much comments from the community this week. I know it's a little bit of a down week. I didn't even send the link out and promote it this time. It was because, like I said in the beginning, Richie was supposed to be on the show and then hit me up and said he's got work. And it was mandatory overtime at Amazon.
So kind of threw off what we were going to do today. We had some other things planned, but I do appreciate you guys tuning in and stuff. But if you want, like, subscribe, drop a comment on anything you want to discuss right now. We could wrap up the WNBA stuff, and if anything, we could add on to it from what I've already said. Have some more. I had a couple fun things for today, but I don't have a partner to kind of like bounce it off, and it doesn't seem like you guys are commenting too much today. So let me know if there is anything else you'd like to discuss. I'm going to go on a WNBA Top Shot rant right now. So this is my fast break lineup. If you don't know, WNBA Top Shot is a digital collectibles website, and it also is a fantasy platform where you can win money and everything else. So this is what I've been doing, and this is what I've been into. Every night, let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. Let me make sure it's popping up. All right, it's popping up. So night one, pick 5 players. And this is so you guys know, if you don't know, you pick a player to use every night, but you only get 1 per night unless you own their rare or something like that. So I only own Asia Wilson's rare, and her rare goes for like $100. So honestly, I should flip it. But it's very useful for winning money consecutively. So you could just keep winning money with it. And if I keep Asia Wilson rare for the next 5 years, I should win a lot of money. And it'll still hold its value for its utility. You could use it in these games. So night one, 25 rebounds, 60 points. And nailed it, got 27 rebounds and 98 points. So Asia carried, Stewie did well, but thank God for Jonquel Jones on the glass. I knew someone had to go off on the glass, and Brianna Jones killed me. I thought it was going to be Brianna Jones. She ended up killing it game 2. That was her game, I believe was game 2. But game 1, 6 points, 2 boards. Thank God for Jonquel's 12 rebounds, or I wouldn't have hit the criteria. Then we go to game 2. This one, you need 25 assists, 3 3-pointers. So I was stressed a little bit on here, but I thought, you know what? I should be all right. I got Alyssa Thomas, I got Courtney Williams, Chelsea Gray, Sabrina Ionescu, Marina Mabry. For that alone, I should get the 25 assists. That's 5 per player. Alyssa Thomas averages more than 5 assists. Courtney Williams averages more than 5 assists. Chelsea Gray, she's coming off a down year, everything else, but typically averages 5 or more assists. Same with Sabrina. And then Mabry averages anywhere from like 2 to 4, 3 assists a game. But she's a playmaker, so you never know what could happen. And also, if Alyssa Thomas is not having the dimes night and they're playing through another playmaker, it would be Mabry. So even if Alyssa Thomas had a down night, I knew Mabry would pick up the slack since Ty Harris has been out with the ankle. So I felt safe. I felt like I had the 3-pointers covered as well because Sabrina always hits 2. Mabry's been hot, so I thought she would hit 2. And then all I need would be 1 3 from Courtney Williams or Chelsea Gray, and I was safe. And it ended up turning out to be more risky on the assists than on the threes. I hit 8 out of 5 threes, but just made it 25 out of 25. 1 short, I would have lost. And the rewards are like this. So if you get 1 win, which I have 3, and I'll discuss it. If you get 1 win, you get the first pack. If you get 3 wins, you get both prize packs. So now on the 3rd night, I got 3 wins in a row, so I get the special pack. And I'll probably flip that for like $20 or more. Or I could open it and see what's inside. You never know. You could have a moment that's really highly valued, or you open a pack and it's probably like $4 worth of scrap moments and things like that, commons. But sometimes you could pull a legendary and flip it for a couple hundred. So I like to just sell the pack and let someone else gamble on it. I'll take the guaranteed 20, and it is what it is. I think over time, it's safer to just sell the packs. So that's my opinion. But night 3, this is also the game that I won last, which got me my 3rd win, is 35 field goals and 10 free throws. Again, this one was very difficult because with superstars, I still struggled to finish, but still did it. And luckily, there's only about, out of 2,076 people, if you see the stat right here, so over 2,000 people are in this sweepstakes. And I am ranked right here, 49th. If you look here, Pack Drip, that's my Top Shot name. I'm ranked in the top 50 out of 2,000. So I do know what I'm talking about a little bit. And right here, started Jackie Young, knowing she's in a slump. I knew she was going to have a breakout game. I seen it in her last game. I seen things starting to come together. So I started Jackie Young over Plum, over Chelsea Gray, and, I mean, any other player. I felt it for Jackie Young this night, and I was correct. She did better than Asia. 10 field goals made. No free throws, but, you know, Fee luckily knocked down 4 free throws. DeWanna Bonner knocked down 6 and really saved the day for the free throws for me. And, yeah, maybe some good money. So today, it doesn't really matter, and this is kind of what I'm left with because I just wanted to win 3 in a row. I wanted to make sure I won this special pack. And if I end up winning the run, then I start getting other packs too. But as of right now, I'm going with this lineup. It is not the best lineup. I wish I had, you know, maybe someone else. But let's see what happens. I got Lainey Hamilton, Lana Smith, Dejanay Carrington, Courtney Vandersloot, Tiffany Hayes, Tip Hayes. Love Tip Hayes. I loved her on the Dream, and I was super excited when she came to the Sun. But she was just older by then, and it wasn't the Tip Hayes that I loved. It was more of older Tip Hayes that wanted to retire the next year and then gets semi-signed out of retirement by the Aces this year and wins 6th Player of the Year. So congratulations to her. But, yeah, she was retired. She was kind of over playing basketball. So I didn't think she would really have a resurgence the way she did. But kudos to her. 20 assists, 20 rebounds. I don't know if we could get to 20 assists. Vandersloot's going to need a 10-assist night, and I'm going to need like 2 assists from everybody else, basically, to try to get to 20. I need Sloot to go off. I need Tip Hayes to maybe have like a 4-assist night, 4 to 6 assist night, drop some dimes off the bench and really create. Dejanay, I hope she crashes the glass. Sometimes she has nights where she'll grab 12 boards. She's a dog. So hopefully it's that. These are pretty much the best players I have as an option. And then on day 5, if it does go to game 5, if both teams lose tonight, you know, the Sun and the Aces, there isn't a game 5, so I can't even go for this. But if there is a game 5, both teams win, meaning the Aces and the Sun, then we'll see a game 5, and this lineup can fulfill itself. 5 3-pointers and 25 points in the paint. So 5 threes. I think Alicia Clark could do it. Ty Harris, if she comes back for game 5. Heidemann can get hot. Stokes has been known to hit a random 3 here or there. Same with Hines Allen. But Hines Allen's been on the boards. And she scores in the paint. And that's what this really is. Points in the paint. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. Hopefully we don't have to go to a game 5. But this is the lineup I have for game 5. I don't think it's a winning lineup at all. So I don't think I'll get 5 wins. But as I said, all I needed was 3 wins in a row to get the prize pack. And that's what I did. So if everything ends tonight and I get a win, I would say I finish in the top 100 and I also get an extra pack. So I could get maybe something up to like $50 worth of value for winning in the fantasy here. And we like that. We like fantasy value. We like winning money. Money Moicano. Moicano needs stakes. Moicano needs money. And we win in the WNBA fantasy stuff. This is just what we do. So if you guys, I don't know, here, I'll show one last time. NBA Top Shot is WNBA Top Shot. And this is their fantasy game. And as I've said, I already won all the prizes I could. The only thing I could win now would be if the series ends and I get some of these packs. Because as you see, I'm 49 out of the top. Oh, shoot. 2,500 actually, 2,545 people. I'm in 49th place in the top 100 wins packs. So if everything ended today, hopefully I win an extra pack and I win all that bread, because that's what I'm going for. Right here. Oh man, I don't think I was sharing the screen until right now. Sorry guys. Having an off day. I don't have my co-host. Leave me alone. But yeah, 49th place out of 2,500, 2,545. So better than a top 50 scorer right now. And I hope to just keep putting up points and I win all that prize money. So keep rooting for me. Fingers crossed, guys. That's what we're going for. And then there's also an NBA fast break. I could just mention that real quick. I lost day 5. We needed 5 assists. Bones didn't get any dimes. No Terrence Mann. No Powell. I should have just started James Harden. But I thought James Harden, being Harden, would have been on the bench. But it looks like James Harden might actually be a viable fantasy pick this year. He got 8 assists in the first preseason game. Did not see that coming. And apparently he's down in weight. He might even be going for like leading scorer of the NBA. You know, everyone's talking about, Steph Curry doing it, John Morant. Who could it really be? Could it be Tatum? I think it could be James Harden. As crazy as that sounds, James Harden might lead the league in points. So this is what we got. But game 1, day 1, this was the funniest lineup ever. I started Pritchard and Hauser and nobody else, and I won. Combined 5 players to score 25 points. And I only did 2 players, Pritchard and Hauser, and we scored 28 together. So I won day 1, but you have to win 7 out of 11 days. And I botched day 2. It sucks because I used some guys, but knowing this now, that they're not really playing as much or creating all the stats, I could find another day when the Clippers do play and then put Harden in. And I think that's what I should look for right now. Let's see. The Clippers play here. No, Clippers play here. Oh, they play against Brooklyn here. 5 3-pointers made. Maybe I could do a little. How about we bench him and we go for the Clippers? And we can put in Harden here. I wanted to leave in Grayson Allen for the 3s, but you know what? Let's swap out the Clippers, and we're going to throw in Cam Thomas there for the 3s. So we're going to put Harden and Cam Thomas. Also, James Harden was Cam Thomas's vet from Brooklyn. So I think they'll have a little matchup, potentially a little ego pissing contest. So they'll probably shoot some 3s and want to bust each other's ass. That's another reason why I've always been a big fan of Cam Thomas. If you guys know my fandom, love Cam Thomas, and I think he's going to be great. And why? Because he was drafted to a team where he already was a 20-plus point scorer in college. He was one and done. He's the all-time leading scorer at Oak Hill High School, where Carmelo Anthony went, where Kevin Durant went. You name it. Most likely these NBA players went to Oak Hill Academy in Virginia, and this kid is the all-time leading scorer there, over Cole Anthony, over you name it. You name a player from Oak Hill, he's the leading scorer ever. So he goes one and done, and then he gets put behind the bench learning from Kyrie Irving, who was actually his vet. Like, every player gets a rook and things like that to mentor. Kyrie's rook was Cam Thomas. So Kyrie was teaching Cam Thomas his moves, his mindset, his thoughts, everything on how to be a better scorer and a lead guard in the NBA. Also, James Harden is there. So you got a point guard, shooting guard, teaching a combo guard how to play in the league. A former MVP, former finals MVP in Kyrie. Just like this is what I'm talking about. You got NBA champions and former MVPs who helped raise and teach Cam Thomas how to be a better guard. So I think it's going to rub off on him and also probably have a good matchup. So I set this lineup for today. 25 rebounds. I put in Jakob Poeltl, Yusuf Nurkic, Bobby Portis, Anthony Davis, and Marvin Bagley. I think this is a good mix of some starter-level guys and some backup-level guys. So even if the starters don't get a lot of minutes, maybe Bagley and Portis go off. I don't know if Bagley's starting exactly this season because you have Alex Sarr, you have Jonas Valanciunas, you have Kyle Kuzma. You got some guys who probably should start over Marvin Bagley, but may not because they're a tanking team, and who knows what lineups will end up looking like. But Marvin Bagley's there, so we'll see if we can get some boards from him, and we'll just, move on from there. And what I really want, like I said, the 7-win arcade pack would be really great to get. And a top 100 finish would be cool. But I don't know if I'll get the top 100 finish. This is so random in these preseason lineups. There's already people that got 2 wins. I would have to get today's win and then a couple others to kind of just catch up and stay with the pack. Because there's going to be people who win like every single night. There's some sharps in this community. But we'll see what I can do. We'll see. Today is going to be very important, though. If I don't win today, I'm probably not going to get the 7-win pack. If I do win today, then I'm definitely going to stay locked in and try to have the best lineups possible. Well, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. I don't think I have anything left to talk about. I could talk about a lot of things, but I don't want to waste your time. So thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. I know this week was an off week. We didn't have the regularly scheduled programming. We don't have the co-host, Richie, who's really the life of the show and why you guys tune in. But thank you guys for tuning in. Again, like and subscribe. Much love. We'll be back next Sunday, and I'm trying to get a guest interview with Aces star Asia Wilson's kind of not a manager, but her confidant and one of her close friends. So they're going to come on the show pretty soon. They're having some problems right now because they live in North Carolina, South Carolina area. There's hurricanes, and their power is in question. Their electricity and their resources and stuff. So it's just not a good time to bring them on for an interview that we had set up prior to the hurricane. But yeah, so it's more important about their safety, about their comfort, and everything else. So good luck to the Connecticut Sun today, and go Sun. See you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.